Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Level 1 News. Today is September 14th, 2021, and we're here with, was it business and security?
No.
Nope. All right.
What do we always start with?
Government.
We always start with government? We've done business before.
And somebody has jumped the gun on his orange popsicle.
Yeah. It's not really a review, is it? It's more just I want to enjoy a popsicle.
I didn't figure most people would want the ASMR popsicle experience, so there's just enough left. Yeah, somebody's creatively sent orange popsicles, so all right, whatever.
Wait, someone sent
somebody
that to you?
shipped those? That was a drop ship, right? That's still crazy.
Are they good?
It's pretty good.
So were those ice packed?
Mm-hmm.
Those things cost like 90 cents. Had to cost more to ship.
Yeah, it probably costs more to ship than...
Now, is that artificially flavored, or is that just a full sugar?
No, it's a full sugar. There's probably about as much sugar in one of those as a can of soda. I didn't bring the box, so I don't know the nutrition information, but I remember looking at it and being shocked.
What kind of popsicles were they? Do you remember the brand?
It's just Pop Ice.
Is that just straight orange, or is that orange cream?
No, it was just straight orange. There was no cream. It was like orange water, non-carbonated orange water.
I was about to ask if that was a thing, and then I was like, creamsicle. Of course there is.
Yeah.
What do you call a happy rabbit? A hoptimist.
That's why the people subscribe.
And also, I've got that spectrum of San Pellegrino. So I figure we start with lemon, and it goes from like lemon to like 7 other things, and then just pure orange. So we've got that to look forward to. We're starting with limonata.
You liked these, right? Like this brand. I don't know that we've had this kind, but
I really like this brand. This is 120 calories per can, though, this is not a I can drink 4 of these in a day kind of a drink.
Can't if you don't eat anything else for the whole time. That's the superpower. Well, you gonna give a letter grade to that popsicle?
The popsicle is probably like a C+. I'm gonna try to. That's my new, more difficult grading scale.
Would you rather have the popsicle in the stick or the one in the plastic tube? The classic.
Oh, the classic, because it was much more creamy.
And you could just rip the side. You get the Joker cuts on your mouth because the plastic was so sharp when you broke them apart.
Yeah, that was a much better formula.
Modern kids, they don't. They still sell those probably. Though.
Yeah, those aren't a lot of calories either.
the modern kid version of that is the Go-Gurt, where you like rip the plastic off and then you try to eat the yogurt and it just rips up the sides of your mouth.
That and some Captain Crunch and you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're shredding your mouth.
Well, you know who else might be in trouble? It's the legal team over at the Apple headquarters because, this is a tough one. Do you know how much appeal they have left here?
The order doesn't take effect until December, so they've got until...
Can they keep going for appeals?
Yeah.
But the injunction will stand while they appeal, right?
The injunction doesn't start until December.
Yeah, but still, it'll take longer than that. And this is, I was all set for the LAPD thing to be the story of the week, but then this happened today.
Apple must allow other forms of in-app purchases, rules the judge in Epic versus Apple. But wait, Epic cannot possess that which they sought. The judge said that yes, Epic is liable for breach of contract, and they have to pay 30% of the revenues that they've earned in this period where they've taken money directly from people as opposed to through the App Store, which would have been required with their contract. So it's a little bit of a weird ruling because it's like, yes, that is an unenforceable clause in the contract, but you broke the contract and you owe the money. How is that?
How do they determine who came from Apple to get that 30%? Does that they have to give everybody's 30%?
Epic will have to give Apple 30%.
No, what I'm saying,
Well, who?
all of Epic's customers didn't come from the App Store.
It's
How
going
do
to
you
be
know?
The ruling figured that it was like 30 point something million, I think.
That's nothing to them. They would pay $30 million to get this ruling any day, any day.
But I don't think that they're allowed back on the App Store. The judge said that they're not. It's up to Apple because it was a breach of contract. So if Apple wants to keep them off the App Store, they can.
They probably will, right? But that's still, that's punitive to them. But everybody else, plus you got those Android cases that are kicking around. Yeah. This is obviously going to influence those.
It's not quite the ruling that I would have hoped for, where it's like you can have third-party stuff running on Apple, but the judge was pretty moved by the whole, well, it seems like Apple is interfering on the commerce transaction between the developer and the customer, and that's not okay in the capitalistic stuff.
This was a California judge, too, so you got to think they're leaning toward, breaking up the big ones. Although Epic's not small.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of just wanted to punish both of them in this ruling.
Yeah.
Oh, they accomplished that, didn't they?
Definitely did, yeah.
No one goes home happy. Don't waste our time again. That's actually not bad.
Unless you want a worse ruling, don't appeal this.
Yeah, it's very mom energy. The judge had a mom energy to it.
I think it was a female judge, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Parental figure, if you will.
I don't really understand how you can break the contract, and I guess you could adhere to the contract while also suing them, but...
And then they have to give you that. But see, I'm telling you, $30 million is nothing to them. They don't care.
I don't know if it was definitely whatever the revenue would have been if Apple had got their 30%, which is odd. It's like, that's unenforceable. We're going to enforce it in this ruling. But now it's unenforceable going forward.
Well, obviously, there's a lot more to learn about this, and I'm sure that because it just happened hours ago.
It almost didn't make the cut for the news because it happened Friday, which is today our recording day.
And I think so far, nobody is responding to the press yet.
Nope.
They're all, getting back together, working it out. There are going to be some Zoom calls over the weekend.
Tim Cook has flipped a few tables.
Well, he feebly tried to get the table, and he couldn't, and his assistant came over and helped him.
Then he's like, pick this up.
Pick all this up and burn it. And in the, we put that in the government section. I was a little bit thinking, as a business, is a government, but it's a court ruling. And why not lead with it, right? It's the story of the week. But this is a government story. And this is a big one because this is the giant budget that is rolling out to fight, I guess, the thing and the chip
crumbling
shortage and,
infrastructure.
the country falling apart and China ascending. That's what we're trying to stop here. But this is the place where all the politicians and all the government agencies get to go in and carve out their little piece of it and get what they want from it. This is the scariest time.
Banks have escalated their fight over the IRS reporting in the Biden budget plan. So this is the $3.5 trillion budget. The budget gives the IRS, more powers potentially. And so they're asking, hey, can we have some rulemaking here that says that any bank that has an account in it that annually moves more than $600, we should just get direct reporting for that. Because the IRS already gets direct reporting over any transactions that are more than $10,000. So if you deposit $10,000 or withdraw $10,000, that's immediately reported to the red flag. It's like the independent thought alarm on The Simpsons. Like when Lisa's teacher was hitting the independent thought alarm under the desk. That's what they're doing when you are doing a transaction, even a lawful transaction for more or less than 10K. Now it would be every transaction, because who doesn't move $600 in or out of their account in a year?
Well, we were talking about that earlier. Like, everyone just got a stimulus check.
Yeah, that would literally be everybody.
Classify, yeah.
And if you're on a bi-weekly payment, making less than $600, you got to make a small amount of money to get less than $600
a year
every 2 weeks. Well, it's per transaction, right? The $10,000 is not cumulative; it's per transaction.
This is $600 in and out per year.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Basically, they're just spying on all our bank accounts.
Yes.
With a small little. Now, how fast do you think you get flagged if every transaction to and from your bank was $5.99.99?
I think that if this goes through, it'll also it has the potential to upend the accounting industry. Like the IRS would just tell you what they think you owe, and you wouldn't need an accountant unless that number was wildly wrong.
There's that great webcomic. Or maybe it's just a text, I don't know, but it's like, you got to pay taxes. Oh, how much do I owe? I'm not telling you that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't know? No, we know to the dollar. Well, what if I get it wrong? You go to jail.
Apparently that's not how it's done in other countries.
It's a very stupid system.
US. Yeah.
Yeah, insanely stupid. But I think, we've talked about a flat sales tax. That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It's impossible to argue against it. But you will destroy a massive industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens then? That's destructive.
Yeah, that can't pivot quickly enough. So all those people will have to find something else to do. And
just like, how like we were doing that stuff in Afghanistan, and now we're not, so we switched to Somalia. What's the Somalia switch for the accountants?
What resource do they have that we need?
No, we just got to keep the industrial complex rolling.
Oh, okay.
You can't let that idle. It's a rough idle. And over in Los Angeles, where they're known to have a contentious relationship with their constabulary, they have a new rule that illustrates why.
Revealed. The LAPD officers were told to collect social media data on every civilian they stop.
Unfortunately, we're paywalled, but they did have a screenshot of the card. And the card has all these fields that they're expected to fill out. And you would assume it's like, well, that's if it's pertinent, right? No. Internal whistleblowers are saying that in the daily meetings, before they go out, they're told every field must be filled in and your cards will be checked. So what happens when I tell them I don't have Facebook?
Yeah, I don't have Instagram. I don't have
That's
Snapchat.
suspicious.
Yeah.
Why don't you want us to know what you've got on Facebook? It's like, I don't think you understand.
And this is not if you're not, you don't have to be suspected of a crime. You don't have to be involved in a crime. You don't have to be a victim of a crime. All you have to do is be in the vicinity and get interviewed. And they insist that everybody give up this information.
So you have to maintain shadow profiles now, I guess.
Except places like Facebook, it's getting difficult to do that. They want your full name.
They can't legally compel you. But here's the thing about the cops. They can beat the daylights out of you and arrest you. And then the next day they'll be like, oh, you were right. And then they'll let you go and nothing happens.
You were obstructing, but we'll let you off this one time. I was like, what?
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's the situation we live in with them. That's why a lot of people complain about the police state. And the census. Oh, I hate the census.
Is that due this year? Is that happening
That
this
was
year?
last year.
Was it last year?
It was last year.
I don't remember them coming to the door.
No, they don't unless you send it in. But I got picked for the second audit.
Oh.
And I fought that until they were like, we're coming tomorrow. And then I just made up stuff. So I think I might get caught up in this fraud thing, and I kind of hope I do.
Oh,
God, I hate them.
Level 1 reports.
Feds to close the unit that monitored American social media for census disinformation. The ITMS unit in the Commerce Department overstepped its boundaries, an internal review board found. Well, the census is over. We only do it once every 10 years, and so now it's like the cicadas. It's going back to sleep.
Now they're going to crunch those numbers for all that time.
Well,
and
yeah.
These fraud departments were actually monitoring your social media and comparing them to your census submission to make sure that you weren't lying about it.
Weird.
What do you think that cost? And what did we gain from it?
Makes no sense.
God, you have got to be the lowest form of humanity. If you're sitting around, it's like, I got you. I got you. I knew it. I knew you made more money than that. If you're that person, remove yourself from this earth as quickly and efficiently as possible without endangering others. I bet you got some feels reading this.
Yeah, I did.
It's
like, I don't know if it's time to share that story or not.
probably not.
Probably not.
This will be shocking to a lot of people, but I'm not shocked at all by it. It sounds like very obvious to me.
The U.S. Air Force Chief Software Officer quits after launching a Hellfire missile of a LinkedIn post at his former bosses. Too many inexperienced project managers and not enough DevSecOps. Oh, they got the DevSecOps.
I hate those contractions.
Keyword ops. It's all about the SEO. It's all SEO. Basically, it's really amazing. He left this scathing post that said, "Look, we have people that don't have technical experience that are in, these technical promotions. We wouldn't put an untrained person piloting an F-16. Why are we doing that? When, in terms of like our security and our infrastructure, it's literally the most critical thing. It has all of our personnel data. It has all of our operations. It maintains, secret, top secret, eyes only, whatever. And we don't really do a good job taking care of that. And this individual was saying, I can take care of this, but I'm not put in a position to actually be able to make any meaningful change."
So when we talk about all those stories where there's an Elasticsearch database that was just never given a password and it's important government stuff, you think, how does that happen? Well, this guy shed some light on that. He was like, so many times a lieutenant colonel comes along and it's like, hey, I'm in charge of the department now. And they're like, oh, what's your experience? And he's got nothing in terms of tech experience. He's just a lieutenant colonel. And
a hardworking, enterprising lieutenant colonel
Sure.
that is right there at Stack Overflow, copy pasting lots of commands.
Someone's nephew worked really hard for that job.
And I bet it's so, bureaucratic and nightmarish that even if that lieutenant colonel was like, sir, I don't have any experience in this field. I'm a combat medic. I bet it's still like, you'll do it, son, and you'll be happy to do it. Look at this pay increase you get with this.
Oh, that sounds amazing, sir. That's just totally. But the crazy thing is, like, even if you actually solve the problem, and even if you actually do a good job, the contractors and other people that you work with won't want to use that because it ruffles feathers and upsets things. It upsets the balance.
Well, and we were talking about like CPAs, it would disrupt and destroy a whole industry. That same thing happens when you solve the problem.
Yeah, it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we paying some contractor to maintain our Elasticsearch database when we could just put a process in place to check and see if it's got a password? And we could do that, like every month, and it wouldn't cost anything. It's like, no, we got to pay the contractors to do that.
See, but you've gone over into Star Trek mind, and you're forgetting Wendell, the government contractor mind, who's experienced this. How much paperwork is that going to take, and how long will it take?
It takes an absurd amount of paperwork. It is crazy.
Several trees are going to die, and it's going to take 6 months.
And yet I was able to requisition a 55-gallon drum of barbecue sauce for an aircraft carrier with just a few keystrokes.
Or a pallet of $100 bills. Well, that's one way to be. If you're in IT and your group is not very bright and you are basically the lord of the IT, one way it can go down is that way, and that's sad. Another way it can go down is this, and like, don't do this one, but this is a much smarter way to deal with that situation.
The county IT supervisor mined Bitcoin at the office, prosecutors say. Christopher Naples is accused of hiding 46 devices used for mining cryptocurrency in the Suffolk County offices, costing the county thousands of dollars in electricity.
46 Bitcoin ASICs. He invested in this.
I got to say, though, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, there should be some criminal liability here, sure. But they really seem like they've turned the dogs loose on him because they don't understand. And it seems like they're making that worse. Like, he should have to pay for the electricity and probably like 10 or 20% on that. But the article said he's looking at like 15 years of jail time. As a taxpayer, I don't want that.
Do you think he started with 46 computers?
No.
Like, yeah, like, do you think he like slowly scaled up,
Yes,
like just to see how long it took before someone noticed?
He was probably what's a Bitcoin ASIC run these days?
If you get the used ones, they're not much.
But probably at least a couple $100, right?
Yeah. If you get a good one, they're thousands.
So he was probably rolling his profits back into more miners.
Yeah.
So now he's probably got nothing but a bunch of useless ASICs, which we'll never get back, and a massive debt.
Yeah.
Now they found, what was it, 2 or 4 of them when they started this investigation and they started monitoring the electricity. They estimated that to be $6,000 he owed them.
Yeah.
That was 2 of the 46.
Wow.
I don't know if their electricity calculations are kind of like drug seizure calculations, where they're just going crazy and doesn't reflect reality. That is a lot, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. But, it doesn't make sense to throw the book at this guy.
We're probably paywalled off here. Yeah, what was it, like 6 months he was running that?
Yeah.
It was a long time.
Yeah, it was. Some of them may have been there for even longer because it said it was under the floorboards in some places, which is just amazing. Why is there a warm spot in the floor here?
How do you not notice that? Yeah, like.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even angry. I'm just confused and almost proud.
Think about our office and think about 46 hiding locations that no one would ever check.
There's a lot of those.
That's tough to do.
Well, and wouldn't it get so much warmer? Like, surely that probably also increased their electricity cost.
Most of them were in the server closet, so he already had.
Cool.
I mean,
nice
they look like they
environment.
belong in a server closet to the uninitiated.
Well, over at Amazon, we've talked a lot about their algorithms and their little wrist devices that track everything that you do and make you play games to make you work harder. That was one of the hilarious things those did. And it got a lot of scrutiny from the lawmakers. It seems like the time might be up.
The California bill takes aim at Amazon's productivity tracking algorithms. It says you're wearing a personal assistant, and think the clock from like the Loki TV series following you around and be like, you loaded 46 packages the last hour. Why don't you try to load 48 packages this hour? It's like, shut up, Amazon-y.
Now, it's weird because it seems like they are somewhat toothless here, despite introducing this bill, because the best they can do really is to make sure that you're not being worked more time than you have to, and to make sure that bathroom breaks don't disrupt your ability to meet the tracker standards. And I think that one is probably true, right? We've heard from Amazon employees.
Yeah.
But how do you prove that?
I think that what's ultimately going to happen here is Amazon is going to capture all this data, and then the labor board or whoever in California is going to subpoena that data, and they're going to use that data to paint a picture that hangs Amazon. I'm not sure precisely how they'll do that, but that will definitely happen if they get anybody competent in there to actually look at the data.
You think Amazon is now counting the number of toilet flushes in the warehouse just to say, look how many times we let these people pee?
Yeah, I mean, it might take a big data scientist, but plot that, and it's like how many, lower urinary tract infections they got, and how much, osteoporosis set in. Do we have before and after X-rays? They'll paint a really compelling case.
We bring in my mind is blanking. Ultrasound. Bring in an ultrasound and measure everybody's bladder size. It's like, oh, you've been holding it in. You're 30% oversized.
Where do courtesy flushes factor into this algorithm?
He was fired for courtesy flushes.
I think you got to be so efficient with your dumps at Amazon, you don't get time for a courtesy flush. Like
Wow.
you can't go until you're cresting.
That sounds like a
Prairie dog.
wrongful dismissal lawsuit.
Your Honor, the turtle head was coming out. I had no choice. And it's more bad news for Apple. It's a rough week. A rough week if you're Tim Cook or Tim Cook's boyfriend.
Apple faces probe of U.S. Labor Board over complaints of hostile working conditions. 2 employees have filed a case with the U.S. National Labor Relations Board. So it'll be interesting to see how Apple responds to these.
Seems to be mostly focused around female harassment. There's a woman who has, she is the originator of the, what was it called, Apple II, which is, get it, Apple II, but it's me too, hashtag Apple II. And so she's really involved in this whole like, hey, I'm getting harassed. She says that she said time and time again in these Slack channels, it's like, this is happening to me, you need to stop, there are laws against this. And Apple was just kind of like,
Don't worry about it.
Go away. I think they put her on paid leave. So that's a rough one to get in this day and age.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency continues to pick up around the world. But here at the home market, we're getting into the financial innovation phase of cryptocurrency, where they start just making up crazy financial products to try to get everybody hooked. And the regulators are saying, hey, that's what we do.
Reuters has the article that U.S. markets are the U.S. markets regulator, the SEC, takes aim at Coinbase lending product.
Not a smooth headline there.
No,
It's kind of weird.
So I did some research on this, and I think I'm on the side of the SEC because Coinbase is like, we don't know what the definition of a security is. They want you to deposit your crypto with Coinbase, and then they will loan it out and charge interest, and you make money and Coinbase makes money. That seems like the definition of a security.
No, that's the definition of a swap. A
Okay.
gold swap. That's totally legal.
Is it?
Yeah.
So you could take
Here's the Google. Rehypothecation.
okay.
Rehypothecation is totally legal. Shouldn't be, but it is.
Well, I think that Coinbase's argument would be a lot more cogent if it were done that way. But as it is, it's like when you read the law for like what a security is. Like I couldn't, if I offered, it's like come and borrow some, I don't know, arcade tokens from me, and I'll loan you money. That would be weird.
But that's also, actually, now that I think about it, that's the structure of a short. When you short a stock, you got to borrow it.
Yeah. And
So-
you might not necessarily even have it. You just have to close it at some future date.
Well, some on paper you have to have it.
Yeah.
Like, so if they're looking to create shorts for crypto, that would make sense that they're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
God, shorting crypto is a ballsy play, isn't it? How many cryptos have gone up 500% in like a week?
Yeah.
Almost all of them, right?
That seems like it's just an amazing way to have incredible losses.
Or gains. They do drop a lot too. Well, the UK government, they're kind of getting around the whole like encryption thing, and they're starting to look at it. We know that they hate it, and we know that they'll do anything to stop it. It seems like they're going at the most visible face first.
The UK government is launching an anti-Facebook encryption push. The Register has a great article that said, "Don't think of the children, think of the nuances and edge cases instead. You can't reduce such a vital issue to concern over terrorists and pedophiles." And that's true. It's like, this is... the people that want this don't want this for those reasons. They're not being honest about why they say they need this.
But remember, when Apple went to bat for this, obviously, last week or the week before, they said that they considered themselves the bastion for these horrible things because they were so privacy focused, whereas they used Facebook as the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Because Facebook was very, very harsh on this kind of stuff, and they looked at everything. So it's weird to go after them, right?
Yeah, well, this is talking specifically about WhatsApp, but we have another article later about WhatsApp and moderators being able to see stuff.
Right, yeah, we know that Facebook moderates everything that they own.
Not well, but yeah.
Well, they don't do it, and we'll learn more about that as well. But it might be a little bit of do as we say and not as we do. Now, this is Germany, which is no longer, or it was never the UK, but it's no longer part of their world. But they're kind of doing the same thing where they're like, oh, encryption is bad, and what if people use that as, to get away from spying? We have to spy.
After chiding Apple on privacy, Germany says, oh, yeah, by the way, we use the Pegasus spyware. So this is a really interesting report. They tried to build their own spyware that was like Pegasus, but it wasn't as effective as Pegasus.
When you love to take a look at that.
Yeah, just to see what it does. It's like, how does this even work?
See how bad it is.
Yeah. So they bought Pegasus to use, but only in the most extreme circumstances. We would never, compel something to, but that moves.
That's a big part of it, because one of their arguments was, yeah, the Pegasus suite of software can do all of these things, but we would never do the things that's illegal because of our privacy standards. We're only going to use it for these other things. We have it, but we're not going to use it.
That doesn't seem plausible.
Based on history, I would say that seems impossible. Even if the current iteration doesn't, the next one probably will.
Yeah.
And it's all bad news. We got a lot of
Yeah.
really terrible things there, but nothing can prepare you for how stupid the Australians have done it. And when I say the Australians, I don't mean the good people of Australia. I mean their leaders, of course.
Facebook users are liable for all comments under their posts, according to the Australia High Court. So if there's a news article on a website and you leave a post that's like, that's really dumb, and then somebody replies to something and says, the Prime Minister of Australia has stolen $4 million.
Or certain historical events never happened.
Then you're liable all of a sudden. So you got to keep up with your comments on other posts, which is crazy.
That just means more news sites are going to get rid of comments. That's my favorite section.
But they already had gotten rid of their own comments, because
Yeah.
we've experienced that. It's just a nightmare of bots.
Yeah.
And they put in the Facebook comments to sort of mitigate this. But now they can't do that either. But it's not the website that's in trouble there, right?
No,
it's
yeah,
the
it's the
poster.
user.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Facebook user who made the post.
I wonder what happens if you just replied directly. So you're the top level commenter.
Well, do you think any of these judges use Facebook? Can we not just immediately crush this? I mean, do we not have the ability to use this for activism?
That would be fun. Engagement challenge.
What's the name of that prime minister that everybody hates? I mean, he posted Facebook, right?
Engagement
yeah,
challenge.
which prime minister? Because that seems like that could be a lot.
The Australian one.
Oh, I forget his name.
And switching back to cryptocurrency news, we've heard about El Salvador's big plans to use the volcano, become a crypto paradise, and they
I wondered
definitely.
where Dr. Evil was hanging out these days.
I question, it's like, well, how far are they going to buy into this? We now know the exact number.
El Salvador bought 21 million of Bitcoin as it becomes the first country to make it a legal currency. So some people are questioning the efficacy of this plan.
Yeah, it seems like the rank and file in El Salvador don't quite understand Bitcoin quite as much as the leaders do. Maybe they'll get hip to it. I don't know. And closely followed, we have another country that has adopted the same thing.
The Ukraine is the latest country to legalize Bitcoin as cryptocurrency slowly goes global. It's really interesting how it was legal everywhere, and then it was outlawed in some places, and now it's being explicitly made legal in other places. It's an interesting bifurcation of, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think a lot of those people saw the gains that could be made, especially if you do something to move the market with a news story, right? Hey, I can do that. I have the power to do that. Well, the China stuff is getting real interesting. They
Really worried about Taiwan.
Oh, yeah. Taiwan is definitely, I wouldn't say in the crosshairs. I would say like, the little, the shield that you flip off the button, that's flipped. And there's a finger resting on the button at this point for Taiwan. It's bad times. But China is not just looking outside their borders. They're looking at their youth as well. They really want to influence the youth.
China says government is going to set the prices for after-school classes. Beijing has led a sweeping overhaul of private education, and shares of companies such as TAL have tumbled this year. So China said, no, we need our citizenry to be thinking along certain lines, and this is not happening in our education system. So we're going to revamp everything, including private school.
So apparently, in the wake of them banning private tutors, there's been a wave of nannies and personal trainers visiting young children's homes. So they're looking to crack down on that as well. They do not want any sort of private tutoring. I think, you think I'm right in that what they want here is all the focus to be on the public school where they're teaching that Xi Jinping curriculum,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And a private tutor could get you some Western influence in there.
Yeah, we don't want the Western influence. That is insanely dangerous.
I bet if you're an expat teaching English in China right now,
You're real nervous.
yeah, I'd get on a flight. And when they're not controlling the children, they're controlling their giant tech companies, which also got a little unruly recently.
The city of Beijing is said to seek taking Didi under state control. This is for ride-hailing and ride-sharing. Beijing's pretty big. It needs some ride-hailing and ride-sharing stuff. And the city of Beijing said, we are going to have someone on the board. We might also take over completely if you don't play along.
I feel like that's going to happen regardless of what they do.
I would be so bitter if I built a company that successful and they just stepped in and were like, yeah, we're going to take this.
Good job. Thank you for helping us. Yeah. That's unsettling.
But probably going to happen. And moving on to the security part of our newscast, we have the return, the big return.
The notorious REvil. Well, I don't know. Notorious Russian group. Russian ransomware group REvil has reappeared. Remember, they disappeared because I guess our government was like, "Whoa, you did what now?"
And didn't Microsoft kind of like root them out?
Yeah, they released the keys and blah blah blah. Well, they're back.
Did they drop an album or?
Well, I'm sure they've got a big ransomware coming up. Maybe
They're just building hype right now.
it may be the big September 11th anniversary. Big
That'll
story.
be in the past by the time they see this.
Well, we do have some amazing security vulnerabilities coming up. Now's the time.
Yeah, certainly seems like there's a lot of juicy databases out there to be had. But if you're going after a McDonald's, you might have been beaten to the punch by who? Well, the McDonald's internal team.
McDonald's leaks password for Monopoly VIP database to winners. Maybe that guy that was working for the Air Force can get a job here.
Monopoly VIP database. I forget how excited people get about McDonald's Monopoly.
It's such a well-designed game because you think you're going to win because, there's like one copy of a specific property. So you're like, oh, I almost got them all. Just a couple more Big Macs, and I've made it. Do they still use Ronald a lot? I don't see him in a lot of the...
No, the clown killings, the PR agencies sort of
Oh, right.
dialed it back.
Forgot about that.
Was that the start of the decline? Was
Yeah.
that the clown killings, and then it was like, and we're in a pandemic.
I saw a clickbait article, and again, I clicked on it. Apparently, they went back and found somebody who was part of the original creation team and was one of the executives at that time. What do you think Grimace is?
He's thick.
Shake?
No.
Shake?
They don't
No,
have a
no, he's
purple
the
shade.
purple thing.
Oh.
He's the fuzzy purple guy.
Yeah, the big purple blob. Like
Is he a
everybody,
seal?
everybody was associated with the food item or was a food item because you had the Fry Kids. You had
The Hamburglar.
I guess Ronald wasn't Hamburglar. Grimace is a giant taste bud.
What?
Yeah.
Nice.
Who came up with that?
We were out of food that
When
they
did-
were going to carry.
When did they start? McDonald's started in the 70s, right?
That sounds right.
You think there was somebody who was still like going hard on the 70s drug trip that somehow made it into the McDonald's team?
What we need is a giant purple taste bud.
What if he was a giant taste bud? What does that look like? And we have another ransomware this week. This time, a university. And it always cracked me up when we were in school because, you know, when they would cancel classes, everybody was like, yeah, they canceled classes. And I had this one religion teacher who was like just fresh from Africa. And he was always like, you're paying me. Why do you not want to come? And that makes me think of this because the students, they were happy.
Howard University announces ransomware attack and shuts down classes on Tuesday. So September 3rd, members of the technology team noticed unusual activity on the university's network and shut it down. It was ransomware.
Yikes. I think they, I don't know if we knew the price here, but they estimated it would be at least $1 million.
Whew. So like 2 students' tuition.
Average of $960,000. Ransomware requests vary from $5,000 to $40 million. Yikes. And if you are an email privacy advocate, this one shouldn't shock you, but it should anger you.
ProtonMail logged IP addresses of the French activists after an order by the Swiss authorities. So ProtonMail very famously says we don't log anything, including IP addresses. But they got a request from the Swiss authorities to log the IP addresses of a certain account. And in Swiss law, they have to comply with that. That is a requirement under the law. Now here's what's interesting. The IP addresses that they were looking for were for people that I think we would refer to as demonstrators. Like,
Well, they had occupied a building.
yeah.
Although we had plenty of demonstrators who did that.
Yeah. So it doesn't really seem like that's the best use of this kind of resource emergency button. Just keep that in mind when we're talking about these encryption backdoors that are only used in extreme circumstances. This doesn't seem like an extreme circumstance.
Well, that's something we didn't mention about the LAPD article. Apparently, overwhelmingly, when they looked at what they were screening for with all those social media posts, was the activists. The, you know, just obviously defund, disarm the police type people. Which,
What could go wrong?
listen, the police are a gang. You can't just attack them out in the open like that and not expect retaliation. I know you're supposed to be able to, but this is reality, people.
I just want some accountability. No.
Crush that.
And as the big money companies are getting more and more into crypto, just like the governments, they have some concerns. And if you're a young startup, it's a great time to get into this.
Mastercard acquires Cipher Trace to boost crypto security and compliance. Cipher Trace, as the name implies, will trace where the Bitcoins came from. So we can see it's like, oh, this Mastercard user used Bitcoin that was previously associated with somebody from Tehran. We should maybe flag that for the State Department.
We had our graphic driver crash. We get one every newscast. Today's was early.
Oh, that was early. I was like, what's happening?
And we have a new 0-day flaw that will possibly attack your servers.
Ghostscript 0-day allows full server compromises. So if you're using the Ghostscript library, which a lot of things do, you might want to patch.
I think it's because it uses image magic as part of its, like dealing with images and stuff. And there's a certain way you can craft an SVG that will crash that. And then you can just have code execution.
Woo!
That's also the sound the ghost makes in Ghostscript.
That's probably something a lot of people don't ever update, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good vector for attack. I know some people who are like, nah, man, I ain't getting into the smartphone revolution. And not just my parents who are ancient, obviously, but like, younger people too. And they're just like, nah, I got this little dumb phone and I like it and it works well for me. And they think that they're safe.
They're not.
But are they?
Malware has been found pre-installed in classic push-button phones sold in Russia. It can do things like steal your text messages and that sort of thing.
How long could you survive on one of these?
I mean, as long as there's a computer nearby,
You got to do, let's say you're on a cruise ship.
I would
for
die.
a week.
Yeah, I would just...
I can tolerate that.
Just jump overboard. I'm done.
Would you take the phone with you?
The nice features about like a smartphone is having maps for when you're driving places new, or like listening to music in your car.
If that's the only compute that I had for a week, half the eastern seaboard would probably shut down.
Oh. Someone has a high opinion of themselves.
No, it would be a cascading thing where it's like I didn't answer an email and that led to somebody unplugging something, which just cascaded into this amazing
Cluster.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
Well, it might be almost as bad as this if you work at Salesforce, because this is a bad look.
Salesforce email service used for phishing campaign. So turns out you can just hire Salesforce to send your emails for you, including your phishing emails. They don't really check to see what the contents of the message is. So you can just pay them and they'll do it.
And they did, and because Salesforce.com is often whitelisted on corporate appliances, guess what happened?
Yay!
So watch out for that. Even if they're coming through a trusted like security portal, you still got to look at it. You still got to look it over, and just don't click the links.
Is it really from Salesforce.com, or is it from somebody that paid Salesforce.com to send you something awful?
And even if it is from Salesforce.com, do you trust them? Why? You shouldn't.
What's wrong with you?
You know what? I should have put this in the Apple section, but we had like a weird late edition for this one. Or actually, it was for the other one. And this is just more bad news for Apple.
Yeah.
It has been a rough week for them.
Apple delays plans to roll out CSAM detection in iOS 15 after privacy backlash. Don't worry, they still plan to do it. They're just going to do it much more surreptitiously this time.
And they're going to wait for all this to calm down.
Yeah.
It's too hot right now. You got to let that cool down before you put it in the refrigerator. So, I don't know if that's... it's not good news, right? We're not better off in the long run, and we might be giving the CSAM people a little bit of a window, which is never good. The worst possible thing.
Yeah, the worst of the worst will flee the platform or whatever.
I did not get time to read this one. I don't even know what it's about. It's a super late edition.
Reuters exclusive wide-ranging solar winds probe sparks fear in corporate America. So basically what's happening is as the investigation continues on what happened at SolarWinds, the Congress critters are getting nervous, and they're starting to subpoena other companies. Like, have you had any kind of similar attack since 2019? Can you tell us about that? Do you have any logs? Do you have some other stuff? And so a lot of companies are getting real nervous that the SolarWinds thing is going to lead to a lot of new compliance legislation and laws and crap that they're going to have to deal with.
Limits to their business. How dare they?
Yeah.
We got to protect data? No.
I'm getting away my profits.
Also, this was updated 3 minutes ago, but unfortunately, Reuters doesn't let us read the update.
We've reached our article limit, but you can check it out.
Unless you've also reached your article.
Reuters used to be like one of the really like good ones that we pulled articles from, and then they just added this like a month or two ago.
Yeah, it's terrible too because they were such a great source. There are some sites that are popping up that their whole business model is just don't be the paywall site. The record.media looking at you. But I appreciate
We're gonna get them
it.
shut down.
Yeah.
What do we got lined up for tomorrow?
We got a pre-sort this week, so we know exactly what we got lined up for tomorrow. We got business and social media.
Ooh.
And we'll find out what we think of the lemon San Pellegrino.
We'll see you then.
Is that is that just lemon water, or is that like oh no, you said it had a bunch of sugar in it, right? It's basically lemonade.
Yeah, it's basically carbonated lemonade.
Don't give it away yet, but let's compare that to Country Time lemonade.
Ooh,
I think Country Time is a strong lemonade.
Yeah.
It is. All right.
A Cracker Barrel right out of the ice Country Time in a frozen mug
That's like perfect.
versus that.
Oh,
You can give that the same treatment.
Yeah. Okay.
Stay tuned.
Bye.